So we're going to move on to problems 14 through 26. We'll start with problem 15. We'll come back to 14 later. 15 says that line segment CD is rotated 300 degrees about O. So O is the center point. I've gone ahead and I've pinned a picture of the hexagon to the little chart diagram we had earlier. You'll notice that the starting point, which we said was going to be along this ray, I've made as a red dot. So we'll be able to make reference to that. And let's go ahead and look at 15. So we've got to take CD and rotate it 300 degrees about O. So let's go ahead and put another hexagon on top of this, and let's draw in CD. So CD is on the left side there, CD. I'm going to write in CD. Okay, and we are going to rotate this, and let me also put the starting point, so we have a reference here. So the starting point is going to be in that point, and we are supposed to rotate 300 degrees about O. So where should we end up with the red dot? Where is 300 degrees? Right there. Okay, 300 degrees is right there. So actually, there's a bunch of ways we could do it. We could rotate it counterclockwise all the way 300 degrees, which is sort of what I guess they want us to do, but we could have also, we'll do it a second way in a moment. Let's rotate it all the way there. So the red dot is now on top of the ray that is at 300 degrees. Okay, and we've got to see what CD rotated into. CD is up here. CD rotated into BC. So you'll see that as BC underneath it. So CD rotated into BC. Let's do that again. But this time I'm going to actually just rotate it, instead of 300 degrees all the way counterclockwise, I'm going to just rotate it 60 degrees clockwise. So I'm going to go ahead, and it will still end up in the same spot, but it's an equivalent rotation. So we're rotating about O 60 degrees clockwise. And that brings us to that point. And let's read off CD again. CD again in order is again BC. So that is the answer here, BC. Line segment BC. Let's do the next one. Line segment FO rotated 240 degrees about O. So let's do that one. Line segment FO. Again, let's line up our starting points, our red dots, so that everything's at the same starting point, like before. And we've got CD there. But now we're interested in FO. So F is here. This is F. And O is our center point over here. So we're interested in where this segment is going to go, FO. Draw that in red. We are told that we need to rotate this 240 degrees. So where should we end up at 240 degrees? Zoom out a bit. I think you can see we're going to end up down here. 240 degrees is sort of south. Okay, so let's go ahead and rotate this around. The red dot is going all the way around. It's at 60, 120. Now it's at 180. And now finally, it's going to go to 240. Okay, so we have rotated the red dot all the way around. So now the red dot is pointing at 240, but we are interested in what used to be FO. What is it now? And remember, we've got to keep the same order. F has become D. Okay, so it's D under there. And O is still O, because that's the point that did not move. So FO has become DO. And now let's look at the next question. We are now asked to calculate or to map triangle FOA, which is rotated negative 240 degrees about O. So triangle FOA, let's line up our markers again. So we've got our red dot here, which is our starting dot, lining up with this starting dot underneath it. Okay, so we're starting from that point. And this is A, This is B. CD, this is E. Okay? And we need to rotate negative 240 degrees, and we're interested in FOA. So let me just fill in all the lines for FOA. So it's this triangle that we're interested in, FOA. And we've got to rotate negative 240 degrees. Well, where is negative 240 degrees? Zoom out a bit. Negative 240 degrees is right there. Okay, that's negative 240 degrees, so we've got to get the red dot. Remember, the red dot was at A originally. We've got to get the red dot pointing 240 degrees. Let's go ahead. Positive 240 degrees. No, I'm sorry, negative 240 degrees. Okay, so let's get the red dot to negative 240 degrees. And that's the same as positive 120 degrees. So we go once, we go twice, and now the red dot is lined up with negative 240 degrees. And we've got to see what happened to our triangle. FOA. FOA in that order. FOA in that order became BOC. Okay, so we will put down a triangle BOC. Let's look at the next question. Question number 18. F is the image of D when the figure is rotated a certain number of degrees about O. This is a little bit harder. So F is the image of D. That means D is the preimage. That means we're mapping from D into F. And we've got to figure out how many degrees we need to rotate in order to map D into F. Well, let's go ahead. Let's line up what we've got our hexagons again. And we've got to map D into F. So F has got to end up over here. And D we've got over here. So let's see what it takes to map D into F. So we've got to move D from here over to here. Okay, that would map D into F. I kind of slid it down a little bit, but that's the idea. Now we've mapped D into F. Okay, D got mapped into F. What happened to the red dot? It started here, and it was on A. It's now moved how far? 120 degrees. Okay, so you have to rotate 120 degrees about O in order to map D into F. And now let's take a look at the question I think is the hardest, is number 14. Blank is an image of point B under a negative 120 rotation about O. So we're trying to find the image. That means point B is the preimage. And we're mapping from B into something. We don't know what point, but we do know that we've got a negative 120 rotation. So let's go ahead, line things up again. We've got our same starting points are lined up. A, where the circle is, was our starting point. Is lined up with A here. And now we're told that we're starting with B, and we've got to rotate negative 120 degrees. Well, where does that take the starting point? Negative 120 degrees would take the starting point down here. This is negative 120 right there. Negative 120 degrees. So got to take A, which is the starting point, and we've got to rotate it around to 120 to negative 120 degrees like that. Okay, and now we are in the correct position that we can answer the question. So what does B map to? What is the image of B under a negative 120 rotation? Well, this was B, but it is now F. Okay, so B maps to F. So the answer is F. B maps to F, and F is an image of point B under a negative 120 degree rotation about O.